when you're in this business and you're at the top, you don't decide when you live or when you die. You're just living every
Hmm.
day by day. There's really no faith. There's no faith. There's just the streets will make your bed for you and you're going to lie in it. And they'll decide when you go. There's just no faith in dealing drugs. Your time is numbered. You're on borrowed time.
And just like that, we are back like cook crack. Hello and welcome everybody to Chronicles of Power, a podcast dedicated to the world of power where I review and break down the latest episode in the Powerverse. My name is Keemie and we are brought to you by Private Listed, all your source for all things music, sports, culture, and entertainment. And today we will be reviewing episode 301 of Force Power Book 4 Force. This is the final season, guys. So, episode title is Do or Die. Let's see. There is something that I did want to point out. So this episode was directed by, we had a female director. Her name is Lisa Demain. She also directed episodes in season 2. And this was written by Sammy Horowitz and Adam Payson. And I think Sammy was on the show last season. Now, for today, this has been a long time coming. Today, we have a special guest in the building with us. And if you can tell by the smirk on my face, it's because he looks a little different today. And I was very surprised when he signed on. So today in the house, I am proud to introduce my IG buddy, my bestie on the Westie, Manny Ramirez, who plays Miguel from Force, is in the house with us today. How are you today, sir?
Doing gravy, Miss Cake. How about you?
Doing wonderful. I'm happy that we were finally able to get this to happen. We have been working on this for, I want to say, like the better part of 2 years now, because when we first met, there was a writer and actor strike. And then the show went off, and then the show didn't come back for 2 years. And now we're finally here. So clap it up for that.
An eternity
I'm
later,
excited.
right?
An eternity later. So, you know what's so funny is I went back to check my notes to see when was the last time that Force actually aired, and it is actually almost 2 years to the date. So as you all know, Force premiered this Friday on November 7th with their final iteration of the show, season 3. And the last time we saw this show was back in November of 2023. The season 2, episode 10 aired November 10th of 2023. And here we are back again with season 3. So I do want to do a quick little breakdown of where we left off on season 2. We left off with Claudia's fate. We did not know whether she lived or she died. Mireya had been kidnapped by yours truly, her own brother. Tommy, Tommy, we know has found out that Vic is indeed a snitch. Diamond and Jannard are kind of making amends. They also lost their dad last season. And then also we still have Shanti Showstopper, who is playing all the players in the game. She's playing both Tommy and Jannard, and she's even trying to get Jannard to kill his brother. Lastly, we have AUSA Stacey Marks in the mix with political aspirations, and she threw her husband under the bus. I hope that is a great enough breakdown for everybody. Did I leave anything out, Mr. Ramirez?
No, I think you summed it up pretty good.
Thank you. I think that was that was more cohesive than I've done in the past, and we kept it to under 30 seconds. Now, for you, here's my question to you. From where we left off with Miguel in season 2, how do you feel you did as an actor with your opening scene for season 3, episode 1? Because I have some feedback for you.
Okay, perfect. I can't wait to hear it. I hope it's, constructive criticism. I love it. I love constructive criticism. I got thick skin.
No,
But I think I fare very well. You know what I mean? Besides looking about 235, I think I was I think I did an okay job.
think you did a phenomenal job. I liked so there was one scene in particular that I loved that you did, and it's when you're talking to Mireya, when she pulls the gun on you and then she pulls it on herself, and then seeing that you're like when you're talking to her, even though you're firm in talking to her, but I could also see that you were or your character was emotional because your eyes were watery, and I was like, oh, he's
You
mad.
know,
He
it's a
wants to cry.
moment between siblings. And deep down inside, Miguel does have a heart when it comes to those he cares about. Um, he doesn't have a heart when it comes to those he doesn't, or those who cross him. So I don't think he ever really seen himself kidnapping her. I think it was more of just a brotherly instinct of hate and anger towards Tommy. Nothing against her. It's just protecting her from dating a man who is just like him. So it's not obsession, it's looking out for her. It's like I always told her, you don't know what's best for you. I know what's best for you.
I do question, and this is a question that I hope to get to ask the actress or maybe even the writers, because I'm curious about the thinking of the character Mireya. Why would she want to date someone like Tommy, who she has inclination is brutal if she's begging him not to kill her brother? She knows what business he's in, similar to her brother. Why would she want to date someone like that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Because all women like a bad boy.
Is so
That
that
is that it's not just a stereotype. All women are
it's a
attracted
it's a
to a
it's a
bad
gross
boy.
generalization.
But it's true. It's true. It's like
But he's
saying
not
every
just a
Mexican
bad boy.
it's like saying every
Like, he's a
Mexican parks their
psychopath.
cars on the lawn. Every Mexican parks their cars on the lawn. We do it. Yes, we do. And then we wash it there. It's the same thing. Every woman loves a bad boy. What, see, this is the thing. When Jesus
Tell me.
created Adam and Eve, he told them, don't eat the forbidden fruit. Tommy is forbidden. She knows it. And just to go against her brother, she's just super attracted to Tommy. You're attracted to what you shouldn't have, to what is forbidden. And that is human nature.
So, okay. So, there's something that you said that I thought was part of the reason. Is she doing this just to spite her brother, or is it two things? Doing it to spite her brother, and then there's actually a genuine connection, or is she feigning this connection because she knows that it will spite her brother?
I think she's doing it to spite her brother, but at the same time, Tommy is so fucking sorry. Tommy is so charming. He is such a charming man that you just cannot help but to like the guy. And that's why I think she is in love with him. And that's why Miguel hates him so much, because he's so charming that he's like, do I like him or do I hate him? No, I prefer to hate him. He's piping my sister. I prefer to hate him.
My lord. Just off GP, you prefer to hate him. So here's some things that I want to talk about. So today we're talking about new power plays, deeper losses, and how Tommy Egan's trying to turn chaos into a business model, which has always been what Tommy has been trying to do. It was always chaotic, even when he was with Ghost. Even though Ghost tried to keep things under wraps, it things were always moving really fast, and it was always chaotic, and there was always adversity at every single turn for these people. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
We did our quick recap. We've opened up episode 1 with Mireya already threatening to both kill you and kill herself, and then she says that she's not going to kill herself. But then we start to see that we are picking up exactly where we left off from last season. And we know that Chicago feels a little bit colder in the air right now because alliances are tattered. And Tommy and Miguel are still going at it. They are having a race off in terms of who can get the most people on their side after what happened with Che. Now, can you do me a favor for those, because I didn't put this part in the breakdown of season 2. Can you explain to people, and even to me, right, what exactly happened with your character, Tommy, and Che at the end of season 2?
What happened was, Chet called us up to a meeting, and he obviously gave the Serbian territory to Tommy. And he told me that I had to play nice with him. I was under the impression, well, Miguel was under the impression that the territory was coming to him. But Che
Mhm.
seen something bigger in Tommy with the construction of the coalition and bringing all these neighborhoods together. And he, for some reason, Che does not trust Miguel to run the entire city of Chicago. And maybe to him is like a little game of chess to see what king is going to outdo which one. Because I mean, what was his final words? A little competition doesn't hurt anybody.
Mhm. Mhm. And he's trying to see who he can get the most out of in this point. So him doing this to them is pretty much like his version of motivation for them because he sees that they're both competitive with each other. Now,
Which
as for Trey,
works.
we yeah, it does work because now they're in an arms race because Tommy does go to the Albanians, and the Albanians are like, "Pump your brakes. We already sided with with Miguel. We got this. You need to get out of here." But I do have a question for you. Now, normally within power, or something that Courtney told us was that snitches, they all die,
Get
right?
stitches.
But we
Yep.
saw we saw in Power Book 2 that someone who was labeled a snitch, Lauren, she ended up surviving and living and going off with her parents. But now I am very surprised that Tommy is playing Vic in this way and Vic is still alive. So, two questions. One, why is Vic still alive? And two, if Miguel had found out that Vic was the snitch, would he still be walking around like this? Would Miguel have the foresight to say, "Oh, I'm going to use you to play against the feds"?
Well, Tommy, see, that's what he's doing. Tommy wants an inside man to give him intel on his enemy. Who's his biggest enemy? It's the feds. It's not Miguel. It's not another drug dealer because I mean, in the end, you can take them out, and there's nobody, no one's going to come after you for it. You know what I mean? You might have a little war on the streets, but if you're the bigger cat, you're going to win. Now, when it comes to the feds, those are a street dealer's biggest enemy. And to have a guy in there playing the feds, playing both sides, giving you the intel you need, who knows what can come out? You might be able to get some dirt on that fed. You might be able to get her to take some money. I mean, I don't know. It's always up in the air. The street game is so
Right.
nasty and dirty, and politicians are just legal gangsters. That's all they are. Let's be honest. Every politician
Yep.
is a gangster, and what where they're going to take money from wherever it comes. They're going to tell you it's corporate donors, but it's corporate donors of the underworld. That's the truth.
Mm.
It's when you're able to get enough dirt on that person to control him. Now, Miguel's not that smart. Miguel is more about brute force trauma. He finds a snitch,
Mm.
he's gonna make him pay, he's gonna make him suffer, and he's gonna kill him. You know what I mean? Break his hands. I don't know. Freeze his head and then break his head. I don't know. Miguel gets creative when it comes to torture, but I don't see Miguel
Go-
keeping Vic long enough to gather that intel that he needs, and that's why Tommy is always 4 steps ahead of Miguel.
Mm. Yeah. So Tommy has come a long way because before Tommy was actually like the Miguel, whereas kill first, ask questions later. And I don't even think that Tommy would have let Vic live long enough to be able to use him in that way. That would have been more of a ghost move. Do you agree?
Yeah, but don't you
Yeah,
learn from your partner? You learn, you grow,
I
you
agree.
study the streets, you see what you did wrong before, and you implement what you learned from this person, and you evolve, and it makes you a better gangster. And that's what I think is that's if Force would have got another season, I feel like Miguel Tommy would have rubbed off on Miguel, and Miguel would have started moving different.
Mm. So is that giving us a clue into what's to come throughout later on in the season? Does Tommy start to rub off on Miguel?
I don't I don't think necessarily this season. I think if you gave them another season to work together, if it were to go to that route, I think yeah, he would most definitely be a little more open to doing business similar to Tommy.
Okay.
I think this season
I
is
think that's
just
a fair
they're
point.
just
Yeah.
going after each other. You know what I mean? It's who can set up who for death without Mireya finding out.
Okay. Speaking of which, let's talk about power roles here, right? Who really holds the power right now? So after watching episode 1 and going through season 2, I'm not asking you to forecast who has the power, but as of right now, is it Tommy? Is it Diamond? Is it Jannard? Or is it Miguel? Who is at the top of the power structure?
Well, we have different people at the top of the power structure. I think it's Tommy when it comes to the streets, and it's Mireya when
Mhm.
it comes to Tommy and Miguel.
Oh, good point. Why do you say that though?
Because they're both so inclined in having her in their lives that they will not make a mistake to where they will lose her.
Oh,
That's how she's controlling
okay.
both of them. It's like, you're not going to do anything to Tommy and you're not going to do anything to my brother. You want to be with me? You got to accept the fact that I'm going to have a relationship with my brother. You want to be a part of my life, Miguel? Then you have to accept the fact that I'm going to be with Tommy whether you like it or not. And that's where
Mm.
she holds
You
that
know,
power over both of them.
so let's talk about more sibling relationships then and more about power struggles because I agree that that there is a I think Tommy is at the top of the food chain right now because of what we discussed earlier and how Che set or pitted both Tommy and Miguel against each other in terms of a competitive race to who can do the most or who can make the most money or bring in the most customers or bring in more territories, right? But then you make a valid point about Mireya ultimately holding the power between both of them because they want her both in their lives. But let's talk about some other relationships that we have and the power struggles between them. So between Diamond and Jannar, who do you think holds the power there?
Chenard, the weasel, the snake,
Oh, I did not think you were going to say him. Why do you think it's Jannar?
because Diamond is very gullible. I think Chenard, Chenard is that, you know how you have that white angel here and then you got that red angel over here, and the red angel's always in your ear, and see, you see, I told you that white boy this. Oh, you see, I told you that white boy's moving and he's not telling you nothing. Oh, you see, that white boy's making moves. Oh, you see, that white boy's still sleeping with Mireya even after you told him not to. So that's been Jannard since the first season. He's that snake, that rat in the grass that is in your ear, putting crap in his head. And Diamond's just very gullible. I think Diamond really wanted to leave the game, and the only reason he couldn't is because of Jannard. So
Yeah,
who's gonna
no, you're right. Yep.
if there is a break in the coalition in the leader roles of Diamond and Tommy, it's going to be Jannard who causes that. And I think there's already a
Uh,
small riff in his Jannard and Diamond's ear. Like, dude, you built this. You built this. This is yours. He's coming in here. He's an outsider. He's from New York. He doesn't belong. He's trying to take it from you. He's moving without letting you know. So Jannard holds the power.
huh. So the only thing that I'll push back against is I think Jannard holds the power over Diamond and which way he'll ultimately go because Diamond is very family oriented. He wants to have his brother in his life. He has made a lot of sacrifices to have his brother in his life. The only thing that I'll say is I think that Diamond controls the power in their dynamic only because he still has an in with Tommy. And because Tommy is at the top of the power chain and they are still partners essentially for right now, I don't know how long that's going to last. It doesn't look like it's going to last very long, but he holds the power in terms of how things are divvied out. But in terms of their actual familial interactions with one another, I think you have convinced me that, yeah, Jannard may be the one that can really pull Diamond's strings and pull at his heartstrings a little bit because he has been in his ear talking about Tommy, where his loyalty should lie, and because they are blood brothers. And something that I heard Joseph Sikora say yesterday was this season, or Power in general, always tries to question whether blood is actually thicker than water. And are you always going to go with blood? And is it your best option? Because sometimes water keeps running and you have a better chance of getting to it, whereas blood thickens up. And I was like, oh my God,
That yeah,
that's a
it
great
makes a lot of
point.
sense. It makes a lot of sense. What
It
I'll
does.
get back to that blood thicker than water. I will give you what you say. When it comes to the coalition, when it comes to what's going out, Diamond does have that power, and that's because overall he has Tommy. But like what the point that I'm trying to prove, when it comes to mentally and family, Jannard is using that to his advantage because, like I said, he's a snake. He tried to kill Diamond. Diamond would never, even to this point, consider killing Jannard, even though Jannard tried to kill him. So that right there makes him gullible. In the streets, that makes you
Mm.
gullible. The love, the respect, the want to protect your family makes you gullible. It should always be streets above all in that game.
But
And that's what
okay.
Jannard's mentality is.
Okay, so the next one. Well, this one I feel like is a pretty easy one, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. So, Claudia's role right now, especially as it relates to her brother, she tried to set him up to kill him. And here we go. We see repetition in the cycles here, right? And right now, do we think that there's any redemption? Well, actually, let me hold off on that question. Who holds the power between Claudia and Vic, even though she's on the inside?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because, okay, I think I have to give it to Vic because Vic has the feds
Okay.
on his side. Because
But
he has
she
the
also
feds on his
has,
side, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, but she just formed a new alliance with, what's the name of the
Marquez.
people? The Marquez cartel.
But who's the bigger gangster, the Marquez or the feds?
Hey. All
Stacey
right.
Marks a
Okay, keep
gangster.
going.
Stacey Marks is a gangster. She threw her own husband under the bus. So
Oh my gosh, with her white suit on
that's a
too.
gangster move. So I would have to give it to Vic.
Alrighty. So then here's what I'll ask you about Claudia then. Because Vic has the upper hand right now. Claudia this season, do you feel like there's there's gonna be any redemption arc for her, or is it just desperation for Claudia moving throughout the rest of this season, throughout episode 1, throughout the rest of the time that she's here?
I think she is going to have redemption, not in the way that the fans are expecting it, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not in the
Huh,
way that the
okay. No,
fans
no,
are
no.
expecting it, but she does get redemption. And it's going to come from a person
Okay.
who she doesn't expect to get that redemption from.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. There are plenty of business parallels or real life parallels that we make for power all the time. And as you said, like earlier, the politicians are the biggest gangsters. It's always street first above everything else. But what do you think this season or the series in general says about ambition, risk, and control?
I mean, it's always a fight. You know what I mean? It's always a fight, and you got to be willing to lay it all on the line because when you're in this business, and you're at the top, you don't decide when you live or when you die. You're just living every day, day by day, and there's really no faith. There's no faith. There's just the streets, and the streets you will make your bed for it. Will make your bed for you, and you're gonna lie in it, and they'll decide when you go. So I don't. There's just no faith in dealing drugs. Your time is numbered. You're on borrowed time when it comes to the streets. It's like the cartel guys.
You know,
They'll live 4 good years before they get taken out or go to jail.
Yeah.
You made a pact with
And
the
it all
devil.
comes
That's what you
crumbling
do.
down.
When you're dealing with the streets, you made a pact with the devil, and Lucifer will determine when you're gonna go and when he's gonna cash in.
Alrighty. So both Tommy and Miguel, they're both chasing order in a world that feeds off of, I keep using the term chaos, but I think that's the irony of this whole empire that he and both Miguel want to structure in a place that only respects motion. So how does Miguel stay ahead of the fray here with Tommy at his heels? How does he keep getting motion throughout all of this? Like how can someone like Miguel win over Che at even though he finds Tommy to be charismatic
He needs to be
and even
clear-minded.
successful?
Yeah, he just needs to be
How
clear-minded
so?
by not letting his ego and his emotions get the best of him. So see, Miguel acts with
Uh,
ego and emotion. That's why he's such a hothead. Tommy's strategic. He stops, he thinks, and he's playing chess. Miguel's a novice when it comes to chess. He makes a move, and then it's like when I play Call of Duty with my son and he kills me, and I automatically start losing it and get all angry, and then I get killed again rapidly in the next game. It's because you let ego and anger take over. And that's the problem with Miguel. Miguel needs to stop, clear his mind, think, and not let his ego and his anger get the best of him.
Fair point. Alrighty. So let's do this. I normally do this at the beginning of the episode, but I think that this is the right time to do this. So tell me, did you watch episode 1 already? I just want to make sure.
I've seen the first 5.
Okay, great. So for episode 1, tell me, what were 3 things that you liked about the episode? And then we'll do, if we have time, we'll do 2 to 3 things that, we weren't too happy about. So what were 3 things that you loved about episode 1?
I like the very first thing is I like that they wrapped up the story of what happened with Mireya rather quickly. They didn't
Yes,
drag that on.
they did it.
I like the confrontation between all the confrontations because there was 2 with Tommy and Miguel. When those 2 get together, it's just I'm like watching it. If I wasn't on the show, I would be sitting here waiting for the moment that one throws a punch. Like
Okay.
those 2 do not like each other whatsoever. So every time they're around each other, it's like a fist fight waiting to happen. And I like where the whole riff of the coalition is going, with Shanti being in Jannard's ear and Jannard being in Diamond's ear. So it's kind of setting up the season on what road it's going to take.
Okay. And then what didn't you like? Well, I think you only gave me 2. Do you have one more?
No, I said the rap they rapped Mireya,
Right,
the
right, Mireya.
confrontation between Tommy and Miguel,
Okay, okay,
and
so
then
you're
the
right.
rift of the
And then the
coalition.
third. Gotcha. So tell me what you didn't like.
You know, for me personally, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no disrespect to them, to the actors, because they're wonderful actors. I love them, but I'm very tired of the Flynn story. I think the Flynn
Oh,
story,
really?
yeah, I think the Flynn story ran its course last season.
Yeah.
If we're going to
After
keep one Flynn, then we keep the brother. We keep Vic. That's fine. We can ride that out because they're using him with the Fed. I don't like that story, and I just don't like Stacey Marks. Like
oh,
she is probably a bigger snake than Jannard. So that's 2 things that I don't like. But I don't like her not because I don't like the storyline. I just don't like that that Fed. I just, if I was a gangster, I would make it my mission to set her up and kill her.
right. But I get you. I get you. Okay, let me give mine. Okay. 3 things that I liked about the episode this week. So, I do like that we didn't have to go through 4 to 5 episodes of not seeing Mireya. So I I do agree with you there. I'm glad that they're still keeping her in the loop. We're going to see her on screen. We don't have to wait 4 to 5 episodes to find out that she was locked in a dungeon in Miguel's basement. I'm happy there, right? Another thing that I liked is that we were able to see D-Mac, Jannard, and see Jannard interact with D-Mac considering what King Kilo is asking him to do. Now, they left us off on a cliffhanger, whereas it feels as though something is going to happen to DMAC this season. And I like when they do things like that, where we build up the anticipation for the character. I know they're not going to kill him in the first episode because we have seen the trailer, right? Like we've seen it in other scenes. But I do like the anticipation of knowing that Jannard has a lot of things that he has to weigh right now. He has Shanti in his ear telling him that she wants him to kill his brother, but that he also has King Kilo on his back trying to get him to kill a kid. And that's not okay for Jannard. So, but I do like that he has other struggles that he has to deal with. I don't want to see Jannard relapse again. I don't
No.
want to see him do drugs on camera. I don't want to see that again. That was horrible for me because he's one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite actors from the show. Again, but so another thing that I liked was Tommy. So Tommy just kept the scenes moving. Like he had hello party people. In some of the screenings that I went to, everyone busted out laughing when he did that. So I like Tommy's energy throughout this episode. And I like how he is on point with everything. He wants to save his girl. He wants to save his business. He wants to keep his relationships going. And there was something that he did with Diamond, whereas he was about to lie to him. And he kind of did lie to him. But as soon as Diamond confronted him with the truth, he was accountable, told the truth, and said, listen, yes, I did do this. Here's how I want to move forward. And we know from past seasons or from past episodes in Power with Ghost and Tommy, Ghost did not give Tommy that same grace or be accountable to him and say, yeah, I did set you up here. I knew I am lying to you here. And whereas Tommy was like, hey, I am lying to you about Mireya. This is what was happening. It's not going to interfere in our business. I know how to handle myself. And he just leaves it there. I love that. Now, things that I didn't like. That little shootout that Tommy and Shanti had, I was like, oh my gosh. And then there was the corniest line ever where she goes, and that's for spilling your blood, your brains all over my wall. I wanted to turn my TV off. I was like, God, please don't ever say nothing like that again. And then the last thing, the the last thing that I didn't like, I'm, this is another thing that I'm probably gonna have to agree with you on. I liked the Flynn storyline, specifically for the dad, right? And now that Claudia is still alive, I'm like, she should have kicked the bucket.
Yeah.
I don't see why we're dragging it out with her because from my purview or how I look at the characters, I don't think that Vic has a very strong connection to her anymore, especially after he found out that she set him
He's
up to
very
be
good.
killed. Yeah, so I was just like, I don't really need her around. We don't need her to be tethered to Vic because she is in lockup. He doesn't have any business with her anymore. And as far as I understood it, like, I don't think that he still sees her in a light where he needs to protect her. And even when Stacey Marks tried to use her as leverage to Vic for him to stay in service to Stacey, I was like, this makes no sense. He don't even fuck with her like that.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was just like, I don't really like this, but let's see where it goes. I did like the episode though. I will say that. And normally first episodes for me it was like, oh, it was just setting up the rest of the season. Just setting up the rest of the season. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
here's what I'll ask you, and we can wrap up because I do want to know, where do you see Miguel going after season 3? You don't have to answer whether or not he lives or dies, because I do want you to keep us in suspense about that. But I know that you have your own thoughts about your character. And how do you see this playing out for him? And what would you like to happen for him? Or even Mireya?
I would like him to make amends with Mireya because I think that's what he really wants.
Uh huh.
In this part of the universe, if we're talking strictly on Force, and then we'll talk about what I think after Force, I would like him to basically be the kingpin of Chicago, to see him win. But then at the same
Mm.
time, as a Team Tommy, because I am Team Tommy. As a fan, I'm Team
Okay.
Tommy. I don't want to see Tommy lose. So maybe make amends and then run Chicago together and be the new Ghost and Tommy. You know, Miguel and Tommy, that would be awesome. You got 2 guys who are engines of chaos. Can you imagine them working together and running Chicago? It would be phenomenal and awesome. Now, life after Force, I
Yeah.
can see Miguel maybe heading to, you know, maybe breaking even in Chicago and
Okay.
then establishing a new chapter in either a border town in Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, or Los Angeles. And that's because it's such a Mexican populated cities that he would be able to blend in and run his operation. And being so close to the border and being towns where there's cartel hubs, like literally in real life, there's cartel hubs in Phoenix, Los Angeles, El Paso, Juarez, all those areas. It would be easy to establish a new connection. I will tell you this: if he got a
Shall we?
spinoff, I know how it
Uh-huh.
starts and I know how season 1 ends, just for
Ooh.
the fact that I
Okay.
wrote the pilot episode, I wrote episode 9, and I wrote
Uh-huh.
episode 10. So
Look
I
at you.
basically have a whole outline of what would happen to Miguel post power, post force.
Okay. Post force, post power, but for force. So here's my question for you because you did mention something earlier about the cartel and how most cartel members they have like a 4-year lifespan. Either they end up dead or they end up in prison. And how do you see that? And how do you see it ending for Miguel? Does he ride off into the sunset,
If you leave it up
or
to
do you
me,
want him to ride off into the sunset?
if you leave it up
Yeah,
to
leaving
me,
it up to you.
I like my characters to win before they lose. So no, I know exactly how he goes out the last episode of the series, and if I had to if I had to say it, no, he doesn't win. How does he go out? I can't tell you, but he doesn't win. I'm
Oh,
like
oh,
Denzel
so we have another.
Washington. When Denzel Washington did Training Day, he was supposed to pay the money and he was supposed to live. He changed that ending and he said there's no way a guy who did this much bad, who betrayed so many people, could live. And he chose to have his character gunned down by the Russians. And that's how I see Miguel going out. Like I can't tell you how I would write it. I know how I would write it, but I don't want to give it away just in case he were to
Mhm.
get a spinoff. But he
Right.
does not win. In my book, he
Gotcha.
doesn't win. I don't know. The producers and writers might have a different story, but in my personal story, he does not win. He doesn't hold an ace in his sleeve.
I'll leave it on that note before I say this. I know that Denzel Washington is one of your favorite actors and you draw a lot of inspiration from him. Is there anybody else that you kind of look up to within the acting world?
Uh, Viola Davis,
Ah, she's amazing.
Taraji.
Yeah. The snot cry will always get me
Oh
every
my
time.
God. Look, you know me. I love Denzel. He is my acting coach. He is my idol. But Viola Davis mopped the floor with him in Fences. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I gotta give it to Viola. She mopped the floor with Denzel in Fences.
Okay. I completely agree. So last question for you. Why does the Powerverse still connect with people till this day? Or do you think it's run its course?
I think certain shows run their course. For me, Ghost, it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry, it didn't. I couldn't get into college kids being kingpins. I just couldn't. It wasn't realistic. Being kingpins, having sex, doing all these drugs, all this, it just wasn't realistic. They're idiots.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
sorry, but
lot.
they really are. College kids are idiots. They can't run an empire. They're not disciplined. They're too much about partying, frat parties, women, getting high, getting drunk. It just was not realistic. No disrespect to Michael. Michael's a good actor. I think he's a good actor. Great actor? No, but I think he's a good actor. But
Okay.
I just don't like his character. I don't like Little Ghost. Period. It's not. I don't know why they wrote it that way. Like the kid had every avenue to be great, to be I mean, a corporate gangster. I could have seen him doing that. But a gangster trying to be his dad, trying to emulate who his dad is, and then becoming his dad, I just couldn't see it. I'm sorry. So I think that show ran its course, and it ran its course with me at the very beginning. But I
Mm.
think people resonate to Force, and they still resonate to the original Power, and that's why they want Ghost to come back, and they're so eager. We need Ghost back. We need Ghost back because it is a very intriguing life. It's a very
It
intriguing
is.
life. The drug dealing, the cash, the cars, the women for men. You know what I mean? And I mean, and even for some women, the women. So I think it's just because it's such an intriguing life that it's never going to run its course. We can do Power for the next 20 years. And as long as it's believable, as long as it's written, and as long as they have Gary Lennon Jr. guiding the ship, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna have a fan base. But it's any good, well-written gangster show besides BMF that will will do great.
I gotta edit my laugh out. Hold on.
I'm
Wait.
just being honest.
I know, I know, I
I
know.
tried
I
watching
love.
I tried watching the first 5 minutes of it, and it was just booty. Sex scene after sex scene, it was like that's the only thing they had going for them was the sex scene and Lala. Besides that, it was just no. Do I wanna see a spinoff of a BMF? I didn't even watch the first one. I won't waste my time. Like I said, I watched 5 minutes of the first episode, and now I feel like I can't get those 5 minutes back, and I regret it.
Well, people, power is never just a pass. I can't even wrap up at this point. Um, I think a lot of people agree with your sentiments about BMF. As you can see, we didn't do news for this episode because we have a special guest in the building with us, but I will run it by you just in case you haven't heard. BMF has officially been canceled. It is not coming back after season
Good.
4. And I do want to reiterate that within the force within the Force timeline, it's not just about street politics. It isn't just about the brute force of every of the psychopathic killers that we see on the show. The show is really about ambition and how you keep the chaos contained and how you're able to build out your infrastructure and how you're able to manage relationships within the chaos. And and that is the real code and how you survive throughout all of it. Now, I want to thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for giving your insight on Miguel, Mireya, Tommy, Jannard, Diamond, and all of the major players within the game. And on that note, I will say that this has been Chronicles of Power, our breakdown of episode 1 from season 3 of the final season of Force. If you are looking for us, you can find us at Chronicles of Power on Instagram. And if you are looking for any videos, audio, you can find us on YouTube at PBTLSTD, where there are more breakdowns, interviews, and exclusives. You can drop your power play of the week in the comments of this video or on wherever you find us. So you can find us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And definitely, when we post clips to this episode, you can definitely drop it in the comments there as well. One last thing for Mr. Ramirez. Who do you think lands on top at the end of all of this? Whether it's in Force, if there's a spinoff, who rides off into the sunset?
It's always gonna be Tommy, no matter what.
And we'll leave it there. Where can people find you?
Instagram and TikTok.
Okay. What's your name there?
On Instagram, it's El Jefe Garcia PF, and on TikTok is La Familia Los Ramirez.
All right. All righty. Well, I am Keemie, and this has been Chronicles of Power, where we don't just watch TV, we decode the game. Have a good week, everybody.